Good morning. I know I keep saying that I'm not going to record to keep recording, but it's still 2 more weeks left before the year ends. But by the time I schedule the post, it's probably gonna be, this will probably be the last video. I shouldn't even say that anymore because I keep not making it the last video. I'm scheduling when I'm posting them just so that it's spread out, so that I don't have to keep on the computer and have that part of, oh, maybe that's what I'm supposed to do. You know, if I talk about, I don't want it to consume me because I'm trying to finish up this other chapter, but I think this is the universe's way of like let go of the old. And even though I'm so close, right, to ending in a week or two, this is a short week, thankfully, but maybe this is the universe's way of saying no. I need to keep recording. I need to keep diving in and embracing the messages that keep coming to me, that I wake up on my heart and just document that and you know, share it, and that's it, and move on to the next, because in a split second the world can change, right? I mean, I mentioned in, I think, that last video that I had been trying to create a mini Yubi plan, right? To make myself feel a little more secure, a little more focused in the direction that I'm supposed to go, knowing that it might blow up in my face, right? And expecting that the universe will guide me, that the universe will open the doors that need to be opened for me to walk down the path that I'm supposed to take. And so I know that this plan that I have, mini UV plan, may not go as planned. And that's okay. I'm doing it knowingly. I think it's a 6-month plan. It's definitely continuing to embrace this world, learn, right? I mentioned I had gotten a bunch of books. And then I realized, I'm like, there's these big important books in my home already that I've mentioned that I should also prioritize in learning more of, right? Because this is the truth that people have held on to for so long, that I've held on to for so long, and I don't want to dismiss it. I'm not dismissing it. I truly believe that all roads lead to the same place. All roads lead to God. It just looks a little different for each one of us, and that's okay. And instead of living life judging each other, we should be living life helping each other, right? Loving each other regardless, because we're all on the same path. It just looks different. It just looks different. And this morning, so my initial, right, plan was that I was going to take time off, go within, meditate on this idea to see if it even is on my path. I mean, it's possible that it could be on somebody else's path, you know? The world will just let me know. And it was about finally finding this balanced approach. And I'm sharing it because it may not be my path. It may be a path for somebody else. And I'm aware of that. And I don't want to hold on to this path if it's not meant for me, but I see still the value in it that I feel the need to share. And so if this comes to you at the time that it's supposed to, I hope, and it resonates with you, I hope you take it and you run with it. But I am looking at wanting to do research. I'm wanting to incorporate research and art and inspiration and travel all into one. and really explore how other cultures view spirituality, and finding a way to blend that with mental health, with physical health, with just the whole being. And the thing is, we've touched on it. We've started doing that, at least in the Western world. I feel like the other parts of the world, you know, we're for to a certain extent in the Western world, we have this belief that the world revolves around the Western world. And the reality is that all these other countries, all these other worlds, all these other cultures are actually doing it right? They're incorporating the spirituality piece, the natural healing of things, and there's this sense of wanting to oppress that and make it seem less than, when there's so much value in that. There's so much value in learning about how different cultures heal themselves with natural medicine, right? Going back to our roots as human beings in this world, and recognizing and acknowledging and shedding light into what once worked, right? In a natural healing way. You know, if we take a step back and look at the evolvement of humans, of human life, right? Oh, crap. I'm running out of memory. It's going to shut off. Okay. Time out. I got to delete some some videos. I'm just going to delete the ones that I have in here and just pick up. So this is a pause. Okay. Unpause. I have to be more mindful of how much memory I have left. But yeah, I don't even remember where I left off. Dang it. And I didn't write anything down for this one either. I woke up this morning, the beginning of the second week before I leave work, and it was on my heart, and I was crying in the shower, and I'm like, I need to get this out before I forget, right? Because Yubi, aside from having squirrel moments and being able to redirect myself, I do forget. People get frustrated with me with that. What was I saying? Going back to our roots, right? Going back to what worked, you know, and not getting off our high horse, right? Getting off our high horse of we know best because we live in abundance, you know, compared to third world countries. Who labeled worlds third world, first world? I wonder who did that. I mean, I don't know history of that well, right? I mean, but I wonder where these terms come from that we've just adapted and accepted without challenging beliefs, right? So anyways, back to this idea that came to mind that I don't know if it's for me, but I'm gonna roll with it until until the universe tells me otherwise. About incorporating kinesiology, right? Movement, nutrition, mental health, astrology, spirituality, all in one. Finding how to bridge these existing bodies of knowledge, right, into the whole person. I mean, mental health, I'm in this, I was not supposed to be in mental health. I was not supposed to be in mental health. This was not the field that I had initially chosen for myself. But the world was changing, so I adapted. And the world continues to change, and I'm adapting, right? And I'm in it. I'm here. I've discovered that I'm good at it, right? But maybe this is why I was guided to get to this point of, you know, we look at our history of mental health, and it's so harsh. It's so harsh. We talk about doing what is that? Electrocution type therapy on people that challenged the norms during that time. Like, women were defined to have this hysteria when they were emotional about not having their needs met. I mean, mental health has really, wow, people's efforts to try to explain the inner workings of our brain and the lengths that people were curious to try to figure out, and even in the medical profession, right? You take an oath to do no harm. And we have psychiatrists who are prescribing medication to children that hasn't even been tested on children, And it's not that it's their fault. It's just that at what point do we not question it, right? Why do we keep accepting it as a norm? There was a TED Talk that I came across within the last year, and I'm going to try to find it and post it. And it was a psychiatrist talking about that issue, about how for every other type of illness, you do MRI scans, you do blood work, you do all of this stuff to try to see it, right? But with mental health, we don't have like an MRI or something that kind of shows the impact of the medication that's being taken onto the functioning of the brain, right? Huge, I think. Not to say that it doesn't work, right? I mean, when we look at mental health, we really have to be mindful of at what point do we really truly need some type of medical intervention, right? Medicine. And I'm thinking more like those extreme cases where it's like, well, you have thoughts of wanting to hurt yourself or others, right? We have to look at that. Not to say that that's wrong, but we really have to look and assess. Because then there's I learned in grad school, there's this sense of honoring when someone wants to end their life, right? How do you end your life with honor when you truly feel like there's nothing else that you can do? And that shook my world when I took that class. And we were talking about that topic because, we have this belief we have to save everybody, right? No one can die. But the thing is what if that's part of their contract? What if that's part of their purpose on this world is to only get to that certain point? I don't know. I mean, these are just questions, right? I mean, I don't know all the answers. My mind sometimes kind of goes and questions. And I'm just writing down the ideas. And that happened last night, actually. So anyways, I'm going to find that TED Talk and put it in the link because I thought that was really important. And then I came across this other TED Talk that talked about psychic abilities and psychosis and spiritual awakenings and blending the two, trying to figure out when psychosis is psychosis, like unhealthy psychosis, and when it's more of a spiritual awakening, and being able to find a way to discern that, right? So that, I mean, my agency works with children and youth and families, and there's so many agencies that work with children, youth, and families, and adults, even adults. Like there's, I was driving down the other day and I was looking at the homeless on the street and just, they have mental health issues, but how many of that is really truly mental health, and how many of them are on the brink of something great and society has shunned them? Like that was the topic in my heart this morning. This statement kept coming up in my mind of the last shall become first. The last will be first, right? And it comes from the Bible. I'm almost done reading the Bible, and I want to go back and finish it. and I was trying to find, like, where did I hear that? Where the last shall come first? Because I've heard that before, and there's this belief, right? This old belief, this old way of thinking that those who follow Christ, those who are religious, those who are, you know, by the book, self-righteous, who make this a priority in their life, are the ones that are going to be persecuted. And to some degree, it's still existing in certain parts of the world. But here, I feel like it's shifted. Like I'm looking at it through the lens of living in this society, Western society, right? The last will become first. And I look at the people who are homeless, who society has shunned. I look at the people who commit crimes, who within their isolation or solitude in jail rediscover themselves, rediscover their purpose, and then they try to come out into society, and we shun them, we shame them by not allowing them to vote, by giving them a hard time to find a job to support their families. Like, I just, we haven't challenged this belief, right? That at one point did exist, right? People, and it still exists in certain parts of the world. It just coincidentally happens to be in the same areas that the Bible still talks about, Middle East and stuff, and or a lot of persecution continues to exist for believing in the Bible. But here in the Western world, there isn't any of that. But yet we still persecute people. We still judge people, right? We judge. I mean, I grew up being told to not listen to rap music because that was, you know, filthy stuff. And I remember thinking, like, well, they're just artists, right? They're just sharing their message of their truth, right? How they live. To a certain degree, that's what it was, right? I mean, we think of like the old school, like Tupac, and, you know, like really good rappers that really like shed light into living their life and use this medium to communicate that to the world. And then it got corrupted and it became about money and, you know, girls and sex. And who knows, maybe that's still part of their truth. I don't know. This desire, this illusion of what success meant. And then this person invited me to listen to a few other songs that just touched and tugged at my heart, and it just reminded me of the last will become first, right? These people that we still, and I guess maybe when I say we, I'm still talking about the old life that I lived, maybe, or how my old belief system. Not to say that the Bible is wrong, but I'm open to considering the possibility that the translation of it is incomplete, translated in different ways. I mean, there's different versions of the Bible communicating the same message, just differently. And I mentioned to this new individual the Catholic Bible. There's also books in there that were removed. And I heard that in another documentary. And I wanted to get my hands on those books, to read those books too. Right? And then you have, you know, the Mormons with a new book. And again, it's the same message, just communicated differently. I'm trying to find the similar. These two I haven't read, and I'm working my way through that. The only one I can truly say that I've read for the almost completely is this one. And I like this one because it has the study part at the bottom. And then it has pages where it kind of goes in depth a little bit more, like a full page of you know, so like this one has a half page of like a specific topic, and then it just elaborates a little bit more. Not to say that it's all truth or anything, but just an awareness of how this book is being viewed from this perspective. And so I thought I did put a post-it right here. Because I was like, where did I hear that? The last who will be first. Luke 13:30. And indeed, there are last who will be first, and there are first who will be last. And when I look at the bottom, it says, there will be many surprises in God's kingdom. Those who are despised on earth, some Gentiles, for example, will be greatly honored in the kingdom. Conversely, those who are considered influential and powerful on earth, the Jewish religious leaders of Jesus' day, for example, during that time, will be excluded from the kingdom. Those who are despised on earth right now, those who are despised are, you know, extreme versions. When we're looking at polarity, really, it's the extreme versions of people. It's the people who try to turn their life around and society continues to judge them. It's the people who have tattoos, possibly. I mean, I grew up being told that wearing tattoos is bad. And I have a tattoo. A lot of people don't know that, but I have a tattoo. and people were shocked. As people are seeing me, and I've had it for what, like 10 years maybe, my tattoo. People are shocked, like, you have a tattoo? Why? Right? Because and you see their perspective of like, that's bad, that's bad. I've met so many great people who have tattoos. Not to say you should run out and get a tattoo, but you know what I mean? Like, it's just, the judgment is always there. People who read tarot, there's judgment there. Over the years, people who have tapped into the spiritual world, who smoke pot. I grew up believing that was wrong. I never smoked pot until recently. But you know what I mean? Like, it's the last will become first. The last will become first. Yeah. I was trying to explain to someone something that I found in here that I was shocked to realize that it was in there. It was about gifts, spirituality, right? These gifts of prophecy. There's so many different types of gifts. If you look in 1 Corinthians, chapter 14, talks about prophecy and tongues. And it even speaks on how much more meaningful it is for those who have the gift of prophecy, right? Because prophecy speaks edification and exhortation and comfort to men, right? And I have found comfort. I have totally found comfort in listening to MJ and listening to Allie to a certain degree, right? Everything in balance. And I've also found discomfort when I get too caught up in that world, right? So it's really about discernment. It's really about knowing yourself enough to know which time path, which prophecy resonates more with you, because we're all, it's just a general reading, right? And even your own personal reading can change. That's just them channeling the message in that moment. But free will is always at play. And so that prophecy can change, right? I mentioned it before that God and Source can only influence the universe. We are their playground. They can only influence, but free will, choice, that still falls on us. as to how we choose to respond to the information that gets presented to us, right? So anyways, it talked more about mirroring. So I thought that was really cool. And it talked more later on. There's this part, 1 Corinthians chapter 14. And it starts with verse 26, and the title, at least in this one, because they don't all have titles, but the New King James Version has order in church meetings. And it talks about how is it then, brethren, whenever you come together, each of you has a psalm, has a teaching, has a tongue, has a revelation, has an interpretation. Let all things be done for edification. If anyone speaks in a tongue, let there be 2 or at the most 3, each in turn, and let one interpret. But if there is no interpreter, let him keep silent in church, and let him speak to himself and to God. Let 2 or 3 prophets speak, and let the others judge. But if anything is revealed to another who sits by, let the first keep silent. For you can all prophesy, one by one, that all may learn and all may be encouraged. All can prophesy. And the spirits of the prophets are subject to the prophets. For God is not the author of confusion, but of peace, as in all the churches of the saints. And I read the bottom part underneath. And it has information on edification and the difference between teaching, right? Teaching the word, God's word, and prophecy, which is 2 separate things. But then it says at the bottom, when it looks at the part of the verse that says, let 2 or 3 prophets speak, it says, as beneficial as prophesying is, Paul sought to limit the activity. That blew me away right there. Paul sought to limit the activity. Prophets were not to monopolize the limited amount of time the church members were together. Let the others judge indicates that no one, not even a person exercising a spiritual gift, is exempt from accountability to the church. That's what it says. I was blown away at the fact that, one, it's even recognized. Because I grew up, and again, this is just challenging my personal beliefs, not the groups that I belonged to in the past, but just challenging my own personal beliefs that I was raised and taught that this world was bad, right? That it was of the devil. Yet it's acknowledged here. And there's truth in that, right? There's truth in what is being shared about to not monopolize the limited time. And I've heard that recently over and over again too, is finding a balance of living life, our 3D life, but also finding balance of exploring the spirituality, right, of this world, and finding that balance of how to do life with other people to where one is not monopolizing the other, right, but just where you're shining your light, your inner light, your purpose in a way that is going to help society move forward. Finding balance in discovering, 1, what that purpose is, and 2, how to do it in a graceful, positive, loving, balanced way. I was blown away. I was blown away by that. And then, of course, there's so much in this book about female roles, right? But again, looking at it within context of the time that it was written, of the time that it was needed, right? It was needed to be written in a certain way for that time. Just as I truly believe that all of these were also, right, written for a purpose. All roads lead to the same place. Just the journey just looks a little different is all. And it makes sense because we're all different. We all come from different backgrounds, different beliefs, different places in the world, different cultures, different societies. And so I don't know if this is the path that I'm supposed to take, right? I have a 6-month plan that in 6 months we're going to be able to travel. That we have 6 months to take care of our physical health, because that's an area that I've neglected. Lack of sleep, my eating habits haven't worked out. I miss working out. I want my routine back. And I think working less hours will allow for me to be able to do that. Take care of my body. Because we're all, just as individually, we're all interconnected. My parts of myself are all interconnected. And if I'm going to go on this mission, if that's where I'm supposed to go, then I need to focus on continuing to align myself, right? Continuing to align myself, the parts of me, because this body is fragile. This body, I mean, we're experiencing it with COVID right now. This individual was telling me about how important it is for us to take care of our immune system, right? Instead of getting these shots, or, which I'm very wary of getting, by the way, for it to have rushed FDC guideline, I'm gonna wait until probably round 10. I still struggle getting the flu shot. I still struggle getting the flu shot. I choose, for the most part, not to. Every once in a while I will, but for the most part, I haven't been consistent with that because of that reason. But anyways, this new person introduced me to someone by the name of Jordan Peterson, which I show you the book that I have, but it's using it to lift the video thing, whatever, to the higher level. But we bought the 12 Rules for Life. Jordan Peterson, he's a Canadian, and apparently I've never heard of this guy before, and this new person shed light on him, and I started listening, and I'm blown away by this individual, and just where he's a psychologist, and he's talking about concepts from I think he used to be an atheist, and that changed, and so it's just, anyways, we were engaged, this new person and I, last night in conversations. Again, I stayed up really late. Sometimes when I have all of these thoughts coming, it's just, I have a hard time, and I need to get it out. So I was just texting him. Overwhelming, right? Maybe I should just journal all of this. But today happens to be the Great Conjunction Day, right? Still trying to figure out what that means, but it's something about the alignment of two planets that haven't been aligned in like years, hundreds, maybe years. So I came across a short video that I will also share in the link of that Jordan Peterson was talking about. And it talked about specifically relationships, right? At a relationship level. But I looked at it from a societal level of what's going on around us with so much fighting going on, and I told him, I'm like, I wonder if this is what's happening in the world, people being hurt and betrayed by society, the medical field, the people we're supposed to vote for to be in position of power, the people of authority in society, like police officers, we've been hurt by them, and that people who we grew up trusting were making decisions in our best interest, right? And now we have this chaos in the world, right? Of people being hurt and betrayed by constructs, by organizations that we once relied on for safety and health, good health. And then me realizing that this is forcing us to face our ugly truth, that we have relied on these constructs that have led to this illusion that if we conform, we would be safe, right? Secure and protected. The moment the basic needs get shaken or are at risk of instability, we act like we have in society thus far. So everything around us that's happening in COVID, because of COVID, because of police brutality, and not to say that every police officer is bad, but just the actions, right? How a ripple effect, that's another example of a ripple effect, how the actions of a few individuals, right, causes this ripple effect and this anger towards, we generalize, right? And it's because society, culture, there's this ingrained trauma that is being passed on generation across generation. We're not doing the healing. We're not doing the work that needs to be done within. And so we're just carrying that and sharing that with our families, generations over generations. And so now we have this society of hurt individuals that are, still believing these old constructs that we have to fight, that we have to fight. And that came up because this individual responded, we have to fight against injustice and wake up. Most people are sheep. People are not awake, yes. People are sheep, yes, we follow, But fighting, that's also an old construct, right? Tower moments force people to wake up. Tower moments, as we're learning, the universe will create tower moments for us. So we don't have to do all the fighting all the time, right? The universe will do it naturally in waves, as it should be, right? And all we need to do once we are awakened is to shed the light, be the light for others. And when we do that, people will come. People will come. And it just reminds me of this story, and I'm not going to share the story. But I shared with him, I'm like, there has to be a balance of when we need to unite, not fight, but unite for justice. But also when we just need to shed the light. That's all we need to do, right? And I put fighting as an old paradigm, and I think Christina Lopes shed light for that to me, and I'll try to find it and also include it in the link. And I'm like, right now we look at society and people are fighting outside, protesting in society because they're hurt. And what do we know about human behavior? Hurt people hurt other people. That's predictable. That's just it. And we, the people, need to learn a new way to, quote, fight for injustice. We need to fight in a way where the message gets heard in order to resolve the problem. Because when people actually physically fight or are out there, right, people are not listening, because then people will become defensive, and then it's just defending and or conquering. Old paradigm, right? An old paradigm shift that needs to change. And then I even told him, I'm like, maybe I'm too soft, right? Maybe I'm too Pollyanna, too idealistic, too naive. But then I shared, I'm like, but to be quite honest, I am tired of fighting. I feel like I've had to fight my whole life on a personal level, that there has to be a better way, a different way, a more effective way to cause that ripple effect of change, right? And then I put in Spanish, that I didn't want to waste the rest of my life fighting. I'm going to be 40. This individual is 40. I want to enjoy life. I don't want to wait until retirement. I don't believe anymore that we have to work hard to earn what we deserve. I can make that happen for myself if I choose to believe. And I'm at the point of letting go of anything and anyone who holds me back from that, who's still stuck on old beliefs. I'm ready to let go of all of that. Of those, even those individuals who I love, will always love. But you become the people you surround yourself by. And I choose to not surround myself by people who have blockages, who have limitations. I choose to surround myself with other like-minded people. Because when like-minded people work together, That's the ripple effect of change, positive ripple effect of change, high vibration, right? Where we can beat the same beat of the drum and really make an impact. How do we achieve that as a society? How do we help each other enjoy life? And the only thing I can think of at this moment, this is what I'm texting this individual, is by us living life, finding a way to enjoy living during a time of chaos, a way to shed light, hope that they too can achieve this by simply believing that they can, by us living and being the example. Not forcing it on someone, not fighting, but just living and being the example. And then you respond, it's going to take me a good minute to read all of this and reply. So then I'm like, no pressure. This is just me venting. I'm like, sorry, my thoughts are just coming out. Just venting. And really, as I'm doing this, I'm rediscovering what I want out of life in this process, right? For me. The difference between knowing and understanding. That's the title of another video that I'll also include in the link from Jordan Peterson. I think I've overgone my 15-minute limit for this video and I need to get ready to log on for work. So I think I'm gonna end it there. My preaching is done. I need to really embrace these last 2 weeks of work and follow through for the people that are counting on me, and balance that with where I'm being tugged, you know, and led. And I apologize for my loved ones. I'm still working on getting holiday cards out. So it might come after Christmas, but you know, it's the thought that counts. I'm not gonna stress myself out about it anymore. So I love you guys. Have a good